If you or your sales team are on sales calls and find yourselves unable to dig to a level of pain where the customer admits that they have an issue so that you can get the sale, you're probably missing out on a ton of cash. My name is Sami Meibar, and over the past 4 years, I've helped businesses build sales teams that have generated well over $40 million in revenue. Today, I'm going to go into the exact 7 lines to show you how you can dig deeper on sales calls. I always like to say, when you show up to a sales call, show up with a shovel. You want to be able to dig a mile deep and an inch wide versus a mile wide and an inch deep. Most salespeople, they just ask surface level questions and they never truly get to the pain point. And if you don't know how to do this, you're gonna be missing out on so much money that this is gonna change your life just following these exact 7 lines. The first one is pretty simple. It's the words, tell me more. So your customer admits something and says, hey, well, we're struggling to generate a lot of revenue from our ads. Or someone says, I'm trying to lose a lot of weight, but I feel like I'm always stuck in limbo. Simplest words you can say is tell me more. Let them do the talking. If they've given you this much, we need to go deeper. Tell me more. Then, once they've told us more and they've explained themselves, the next best question is to say, how so? Very simple question because it gets them to elaborate more on what they just talked about. So, for example, if they say, well, we're running a bunch of ads, but we seem to be getting not the best ROI. And you say, how so? They end up saying, well, we're running the ads and we're roughly around a 2x ROI, or, we're just not getting the numbers we were hoping for. Now we're getting somewhere. We're getting a little bit deeper and we're actually getting to understand a little bit more about the problem. And we're not asking these questions, by the way, for them to admit it to us. We're doing it so they can admit it to themselves. That's the big key shift that you need to understand. It's for them to say it out loud so that they can hear themselves and admit that they have a pain point. So the third question is, what do you mean by that? Again, another question that's going to help them elaborate so they can really get to the root cause of what's actually going on and they can actually lay it out for you. If you can't paint a picture by the end of this line of questioning, you've done a bad job. You need to literally be able to illustrate and say, is this your painting? And them to be able to say back to you, yes, that's exactly it. How did you know? Well, because we asked you some questions and you told us. But the whole point of a sales call is for us to organize their disorganized information and then show it back to them. The fourth question we ask is, could you give me an example of that? So when someone says, well, I'm at the gym and I'm feeling less than, and I'm kind of walking around not knowing what to do. Could you give me an example of that? When was the last time it happened? Well, a week ago I was standing there and I kind of picked up a couple weights and didn't know what to do. And, I basically did my own workout for my mind. And that's probably the reason why I'm not getting results. By the way, that silence, that little nod head that I just did and saying the words interesting is a lot better than just keeping going with more lines of questioning and more words. Most people think they need to say more things and ask more stuff and just keep interjecting. Instead, you can just stay silent for a little bit between each of these questions and just go. Every now and again, you can say the word interesting. It helps really build the tension up because we want to slow down the sale to speed up the sale. The fifth most important question on this list is, how long has this been an issue for? We want them to give us a timeline of pain. If they say, oh, this has been a pain point since yesterday, guess what? We're probably not going to be able to convince them that they need to fix this right away. But if they say, well, this has been something I've been struggling with for the past 5 years, now we have true pain. 5 years is a very long time to be dealing with the same pain point. It's probably only going to get worse and worse. Now, if you're out for a walk and you have a little pebble in your shoe, for the first 5 minutes, it's probably not going to be painful. But if you're going on a 12-hour hike, that little pebble is probably so painful, you'll do anything to get rid of it. Which brings me to the sixth thing that you should say on the sales call, which is, what happens if the next 5 years looks like the previous 5 years? And it's a very serious question because we want them to see, is that even an option that they want to stick with? Do they want to stick around for 5 more years of the same pain? Same thing with the pebble in your shoe. If I tell you, what happens if tomorrow's hike still has that pebble? You're like, I'm going to cut off the leg. I'm tired of this leg. Like, this is painful. Now, at this point, they're probably going to make a big admission where they're going to say, well, it's going to be terrible, and I'm going to continue the next 5 years sad, miserable, upset, frustrated with my business, my life, my personal life, whatever the case may be. And then the seventh and last line of questioning that you need to say is, are you okay to settle for this? Because at this point, we're trying to hold them accountable. We've asked them a bunch of questions, we've dug pretty deep, and now our goal is to say, hey, are you okay to just walk away right now and not fix this, or do you want to fix this today? And we do this subtly by saying, are you ready to settle for that? If there's enough pain and if you did this job correctly and dug deep enough, they're probably going to say, no, absolutely not. And then you say, want to see how we can help? and then you move forward to pitching your services. If you found this helpful, go ahead and like, subscribe, leave us a comment down below, just some sort of engagement so I can see that I'm actually doing something good in this world. Click down below, and I'll see you in the next video.